I survived 8 months in Afghanistan. Then I came home and found a child in my insurance policy. Not my child. Not a relative. A little girl I had never seen before. And under father, the document listed my husband. My name is Rachel Morgan. I was 37 years old, a staff sergeant in the United States Army, and I had spent most of that year telling myself one thing. Just get home. Get home to your house in North Carolina. Get home to your own bed. Get home to your husband, Daniel. For 8 months, I carried that thought through dust storms, sleepless nights, and the sound of helicopters shaking the ground. I worked medical support on a base outside Kabul. Some days were quiet. Some days were not. When people ask what deployment feels like, they expect big words. Honor. Fear. Sacrifice. But most of the time, it feels like waiting. Waiting for orders. Waiting for calls. Waiting for one normal message from home that reminds you who you are. Daniel was my normal. At least, I thought he was. He sent me photos of our backyard after storms. He told me the dog kept sleeping on my side of the bed. He complained about the grocery prices and said the house felt too quiet without me. Every message ended the same way. Come home safe. I miss my wife. I believed him. That was the part one still hated admitting later. I did not come home to music or balloons. I came home on a gray Thursday morning with 2 duffel bags, sore knees, and a headache that started somewhere over Germany. Daniel met me outside baggage claim at Raleigh-Durham International Airport. He looked thinner than I remembered. Not unhealthy. Just stretched. His hug was tight, almost too tight, like he was trying to hold me still before I noticed something behind him. You're really here, he whispered. I closed my eyes against his shoulder. I'm really here. For 2 days, I let myself believe life could go back to normal. I slept 12 hours the first night. I drank coffee on the porch. I watched Daniel move around the kitchen like a man who had missed me exactly the way he said he had. But little things felt wrong. He kept his phone face down. He answered texts in the garage. He had changed the passcode on our home office door, saying he forgot I still used the old one. And twice, when I walked into a room too quietly, he looked scared before he looked happy. I told myself I was adjusting. Coming home does strange things to your nerves. After deployment, even peace can feel suspicious. On the 3rd morning, I sat at the dining table with a pile of mail. Bills. Bank statements. Army paperwork. Insurance notices. Everything Daniel had stacked in a basket and promised he had mostly handled. That word bothered me. Mostly. I opened the envelope from our benefits administrator because I wanted to confirm my dependent information. It was routine. Boring. The kind of paperwork soldiers check after a deployment because one wrong line can become a nightmare later. My name was there. Daniel's name was there. Then I saw a 3rd name. Lily Morgan. Date of birth, May 14th. Age, 4. Relationship to sponsor, dependent child. I stared at the paper. At first, my brain rejected it. It looked like a mistake. Some clerical error. A child from another family placed on my account by accident. Then I looked lower. Parent or legal guardian, Daniel Morgan. My husband. The room tilted slightly. I read it again. Then again. The letters did not change. A child named Lily had been added to my insurance while I was deployed. She shared my last name. Her listed father was Daniel. And I had never heard her name once in my marriage. My hands went cold. The house was quiet except for Daniel upstairs, moving around in our bedroom. A drawer opened. A drawer closed. The floor creaked above me. I folded the paper slowly. Not because I was calm. Because something inside me had gone still. The kind of stillness I had felt overseas when the air changed before danger. I took a photo of the document with my phone. Then I searched the rest of the mail. Another envelope. This one from a pediatric clinic in Fayetteville. My breath stopped before I opened it. Inside was a billing notice. Patient, Lily Morgan. Guarantor, Daniel Morgan. Insurance, mine. Appointment date, 3 weeks earlier. While I was still in Afghanistan. Reason for visit, follow-up exam. Follow-up for what? I heard Daniel coming down the stairs. I shoved the papers beneath a bank statement and forced my face into something normal. He walked into the kitchen wearing jeans and a blue hoodie. His hair was damp from the shower. He smiled when he saw me, but his eyes went straight to the mail. Too fast. You doing paperwork already? He asked, trying to catch up. He poured coffee. His hand shook once. Just once. But I saw it. Anything weird? He asked. That question told me more than any confession could have. I looked at him across the kitchen. My husband. The man who had kissed me goodbye before deployment. The man who had told me every night he missed me. The man whose name was now attached to a child I had never met. I wanted to ask him right there. Who is Lily? Why is she on my insurance? How long have you been lying to me? But I had served long enough to know one thing. Never reveal what you know before you understand what you're looking at. So I picked up my coffee. Just bills, I said. Daniel nodded. Too relieved. Then his phone buzzed on the counter. He grabbed it before I could even look. But he was not fast enough. For half a second, the screen lit up. One message. No name. Just a photo. A little girl with dark curls, sitting in a hospital bed. And beneath it, 4 words. She's asking for daddy. The photo disappeared when Daniel locked his phone. But I had already seen enough. A little girl in a hospital bed. Dark curls. Small hands. A blanket pulled up to her chest. And those 4 words. She's asking for daddy. For a few seconds, I could not hear anything clearly. Not the coffee maker. Not the dog scratching near the back door. Not Daniel setting his mug down too carefully on the counter. Only one word kept repeating in my head. Daddy. Not Daniel. Not your husband. Daddy. Who is that? I asked. Daniel looked at his phone like he had forgotten he was holding it. What? The message. He blinked once. Too slowly. Work. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was the weakest lie he had ever given me. Work sent you a picture of a child? His jaw tightened. It's complicated. That word hit me harder than a confession. Complicated meant he needed time. Complicated meant he had already built one version of the story, but now needed to adjust it because I had seen too much. I set my coffee down. Then explain it simply. He rubbed both hands over his face. For a moment, he looked exhausted. Not guilty. Not sorry. Just tired of hiding something. And that made my stomach twist, because hiding takes practice. Rachel, he said quietly, there are things I didn't want to tell you while you were deployed. My skin went cold. That sentence had been waiting for me. I could feel it. You had 8 months to tell me, I said. You were in a war zone. I was still your wife. He looked away. That hurt more than I expected. Then his phone buzzed again. He grabbed it tighter, but this time I stepped forward. Put it down. His eyes snapped to mine. Don't do that. Do what? Use that voice. I knew what he meant. The command voice. The voice I used when someone was bleeding, lying, or dangerous. I did not soften it. Put the phone down, Daniel. For a second, I thought he might refuse. Then he placed it on the counter. Face down. Still locked. Like that helped. Who is Lily Morgan? I asked. The color drained from his face. There it was. Not confusion. Not surprise. Fear. He looked at the mail on the table, then back at me. You went through the insurance papers. They had my name on them. Rachel. Who is she? He closed his eyes. She's my daughter. The room went silent. Not quiet. Silent. Like the whole house had stopped breathing with me. I gripped the edge of the table. How old? 4. I already knew that. But I needed to hear him say it. 4, he repeated. I stared at him. We had been married 6 years. For years meant she had not come before me. She came during us. During birthday dinners. During mortgage payments. During holidays with his hand on my back. During every time he looked me in the eye and said there was no one else. Who is her mother? I asked. Daniel swallowed. Her name is Emily. Emily who? He hesitated. That was another answer. Daniel. Emily Harper. The name meant nothing to me. And that somehow made it worse. I wanted her to be someone I hated already. Someone obvious. Someone from his office. Someone whose face I had ignored at a barbecue. But she was a stranger. A stranger had a child with my husband, and I had been sending him heart emojis from Afghanistan like a fool. When? I asked. He rubbed his forehead. It happened when you were at training in Texas. I felt something inside me drop. That training had been brutal. 6 weeks of heat, drills, and 15-minute calls whenever I could get them. I had missed him so badly it embarrassed me. And he had been in someone else's bed. One time, I asked. He did not answer fast enough. I nodded slowly. Not one time. It ended. When? His silence became a wall. I stepped closer. When did it end? He looked at me then. And I saw the truth before he said it. It didn't, I whispered. His eyes filled. I didn't know how to stop. That sentence was so small. So cowardly. I almost did not recognize the man in front of me. You didn't know how to stop having a second family? She was sick, he said quickly. Lily was sick. My anger paused. Only for a second. What do you mean sick? Daniel's face changed. The panic softened into something that looked real. She has a heart condition. She needed appointments. Medication. Tests. Emily lost her coverage after she quit her job. So you put her on mine. I was trying to help my daughter. My insurance, I said. My military benefits. My name. I know. No, you don't know. My voice shook now, but I did not care. You used my service to cover the child you hid from me. He flinched. Good. I wanted that one to hurt. Then the phone buzzed again. This time, the sound seemed louder than before. Daniel looked down. I did too. The screen lit for half a second. A new message. Don't tell Rachel everything. My heart stopped. Daniel snatched the phone, but the damage was done. Everything. Not don't tell Rachel. Don't tell Rachel everything. There was more. I stepped back from him. What else? Nothing. You just lied too fast. Rachel, listen to me. No. You listen to me. My hands were shaking now. Not from weakness. From the effort of not throwing the table between us. You have 30 seconds to tell me what I don't know. He stared at me. Then he said the worst possible thing. I need to go to the hospital. I almost laughed again. Of course you do. Lily's there. And Emily? He looked away. Of course Emily was there. His phone started ringing. Not buzzing. Ringing. The name on the screen appeared before he could hide it. E. Harper. He rejected the call. I stared at him. Answer it. No. Answer it. She's upset. Then she can be upset with both of us. Daniel backed away from the counter. That was when I understood. He was not protecting me from pain. He was protecting a story. A story Emily knew. A story I did not. I grabbed my keys from the table. Fine, I said. We'll go together. His face changed instantly. No. That single word told me more than all the others. Why not? Because this isn't the right time. My husband has a 4-year-old child on my insurance, I said. I'd say the right time is dead. He stepped in front of the hallway. Not blocking me fully, but enough. I looked at his body, then at his face. Move. Rachel. Move. He stepped aside, but the fear in his eyes had shifted. He was not afraid I would leave him. He was afraid of what I would find when I got there. I drove my own car. He followed in his truck. All the way to Fayetteville, my mind replayed the papers. Lily Morgan. Daniel Morgan. Follow-up exam. My insurance. My name. At the hospital, I saw him park 3 spaces away from me. He did not get out right away. He sat there, holding his phone. Texting. I took a photo of his truck. Then I walked inside without him. The pediatric floor smelled like sanitizer and apple juice. A nurse at the desk looked up. Can I help you? I opened my mouth, but before I could speak, a woman stepped out of room 214. She had tired eyes, brown hair, and a face I had never seen. Emily Harper. She froze when she saw me. Not because she recognized my face. Because she recognized my uniform jacket. Then a little girl's voice came from inside the room. Daddy? Emily's eyes filled with panic. And behind me, Daniel whispered, Rachel, please don't go in there. But I was already walking toward the door. I stepped into room 214 before Daniel could stop me. And the first thing I saw was not Emily. It was Lily. She sat in the hospital bed with a pink blanket over her legs. Her dark curls were messy from sleep. A plastic ID band wrapped around her tiny wrist. Stickers from a heart monitor peeked out from under her pajama top. She looked smaller than 4. Too small. Too pale. Then she looked past me and smiled. Daddy. The word broke something in the room. Daniel froze behind me. Emily put one hand over her mouth. And I stood there in my uniform jacket, staring at a child who had no idea she had just walked straight into my marriage. Daniel moved around me quickly. Hey, sweetheart, he said. His voice changed when he spoke to her. Soft. Warm. Real. That hurt more than I expected, because I had heard that voice before. He used it on me when I came home exhausted, when I cried after bad days, when I told him I was scared before deployment. Now I heard it belonged to someone else. Lily reached for him. Daniel went to her bed and took her hand. Emily watched me like she was waiting for me to explode. I did not. That surprised even me. I looked at the little girl, then at Daniel. She knows you, I said. He closed his eyes. Rachel, how often are you here? Emily answered before he could. Every week. Daniel turned toward her. Emily, don't. I looked at her. Every week. Her face went red, then pale. He told me you knew. The room went silent again. I almost laughed. That sentence. Of course. He told me you knew. The oldest lie in the world. I stepped farther inside and closed the door behind me. Daniel looked panicked. Good. For once, he should feel trapped too. What exactly did he say I knew? I asked. Emily glanced at Lily. The child was watching us now. Her little smile had faded. She gripped Daniel's fingers tighter. I lowered my voice. For her sake, answer carefully. Emily swallowed. He said you and he were separated. I looked at Daniel. He did not meet my eyes. He said the marriage was over, Emily continued. He said you stayed on paper because of benefits and deployment paperwork. My chest tightened. Benefits. That word was everywhere now. Insurance. Military coverage. My name. My service. My life. Daniel stood up. This is not the place. No, I said. This is exactly the place. Because this is where my insurance is being used. A nurse knocked once and opened the door. Everything okay in here? No one answered right away. I forced my face calm. I need to speak with billing and patient administration. Daniel's head snapped toward me. Rachel, don't do this. The nurse looked between us. Are you family? I pulled out my military ID and the insurance notice from my pocket. I'm the sponsor on this child's insurance policy. The nurse's expression changed. Not shock. Concern. That was worse. I'll get someone, she said quietly. When the door closed, Emily looked confused. You're the sponsor? I stared at her. You didn't know? She shook her head. He said it was his plan. Daniel turned away from us both. And that was when I realized he had not only lied to me. He had lied in 2 directions. To me, he hid the child. To Emily, he hid me. And in the middle, he used my name like a key. Lily started coughing. The sound cut through everything. Emily rushed to her side. Daniel did too. For a moment, they moved like parents who knew the same routine. Water cup. Pillow. Gentle hand on her back. I stood there, useless and furious. Not at Lily. Never at Lily. That was the part that made it more complicated. She was innocent. She was sick. And she was living proof that my husband had built a whole life in the spaces where I trusted him. A woman in a gray cardigan came in with a tablet. Mrs. Morgan? Emily and I both looked up. The woman hesitated. That tiny hesitation told the whole story. I stepped forward. I'm Mrs. Morgan. Emily looked down. Daniel rubbed his forehead. The woman cleared her throat. I'm Karen Doyle from Patient Administration. Can we speak outside? Yes, I said. Daniel followed immediately. Karen looked at him. Just Mrs. Morgan for now. Daniel's face tightened. I followed Karen into a small consultation room across the hall. She closed the door softly, then sat across from me. I need to ask a few questions, she said. So do I. She nodded, careful now. Our records show Lily Morgan was added as a dependent under your military family coverage 6 months ago, while I was deployed. Karen glanced at the tablet. Yes, I did not add her. Her face changed again. This time I saw it clearly. She had expected that answer. There is a dependent verification form on file, she said. With my signature? Yes. Show me. She hesitated. I can request a copy. Now. My voice came out sharper than I meant. But I was done being polite to papers that were destroying my life. Karen left and returned 5 minutes later with 2 printed pages. The second I saw the signature, my stomach dropped. It looked like mine. Not perfect, but close. Close enough to fool someone who had never seen me sign fast at a kitchen table. Did Daniel submit this? I asked. Karen looked uncomfortable. It was uploaded through the online portal. From what account? Your spouse's authorized access. Of course. Before deployment, I had given Daniel limited access to handle bills, mail, and emergencies. It was supposed to make life easier. Instead, it made me blind. I stared at the paper. There was another line beneath the signature. Legal guardian acknowledgement. My name was signed there too. I looked up slowly. Why does this say legal guardian? Karen folded her hands. That is connected to Lily's current treatment plan. My pulse changed. What treatment plan? She did not answer fast enough. Karen. Lily is being evaluated for a procedure, she said. The hospital required confirmation of coverage and guardian consent. I felt cold all over. Did someone sign medical consent in my name? Karen looked down at the tablet. There is a consent form on file. When? She swallowed. This morning. My ears rang. This morning. I had been sitting at my dining table this morning, reading insurance papers. Someone had used my name again while I was in the same state. Who signed it? I asked. Karen looked scared now. The electronic signature says Rachel Morgan. I stood up. I did not sign anything. I understand. No, I said. You don't. I'm a staff sergeant in the United States Army. I just returned from deployment. Someone has added a child to my policy, forged my signature, and submitted medical consent under my name. Karen went pale. I'll need to escalate this. You do that. I walked out before she could say more. Daniel was waiting in the hallway. He knew. I saw it instantly. He knew about the consent. He knew about the signature. He knew about all of it. I held up the papers. You forged my name. Rachel, I can explain. No. You can confess. He stepped closer. His voice dropped. She needed the procedure. You used me. She could die. That stopped me. For 1 second, all my anger hit a wall. Because behind him, through the small window in the door, I could see Lily sitting in bed with a stuffed rabbit under her arm. A child. A sick child. And Daniel knew exactly how that would land. He knew my heart. He had counted on it. You don't get to hide behind her, I said. His eyes filled. I was desperate. You were selfish. He flinched. Then Emily came into the hallway. Her face was wet with tears. What consent? She asked. Daniel turned toward her. Go back inside. No, she said. What consent? I looked at her. He signed my name for Lily's procedure. Emily stared at him. You said Rachel approved it. Daniel said nothing. Emily stepped back like he had slapped her. Then she whispered something that made my blood go cold. Then what about the life insurance? I turned slowly. What life insurance? Daniel's face changed. Not guilt this time. Fear. Real fear. Emily covered her mouth, like she had just said something she was never supposed to say. I looked at my husband. What did you do, Daniel? He reached for my arm. Rachel, please. I pulled away. Do not touch me. His voice lowered. You need to calm down. There it was. The warning dressed as concern. But I was already past calm. Emily looked at me with shaking eyes. He told me you wanted to make sure Lily was protected, she whispered. He said you changed your policy before deployment. My body went still. Before deployment, Daniel had insisted we update emergency documents. He said it was responsible. He said married couples should be prepared. He said he just wanted peace of mind. I remembered signing forms at the kitchen table while my duffel bag sat by the door. I remembered trusting him. I remembered not reading every page. Daniel stepped between us. Emily, stop talking. But it was too late. I already understood the shape of the next lie. A child hidden in my insurance. A forged medical consent. A life insurance policy I did not remember changing. And a husband who looked terrified because two women he had lied to were finally standing in the same hallway. Then Karen from administration hurried toward us. She held another folder in her hand. "Mrs. Morgan," she said, breathless. "There's something else you need to see." I looked at Daniel. He whispered, "Rachel, don't." But I took the folder anyway. Inside was a copy of my military power of attorney. My signature was at the bottom, and Daniel's name was listed as authorized to make financial, medical, and dependent decisions. But the date on the document was impossible. It was signed 3 weeks after I left for Afghanistan. The date on the power of attorney made no sense. 3 weeks after I left for Afghanistan. 3 weeks after I was already on base. 3 weeks after Daniel had kissed me goodbye and promised he would handle things at home. I stared at the paper until the hallway blurred. My signature was there. My name, my rank, my date of birth. But I had not signed it. I had not even been in the country. Karen stood beside me, pale and silent. Emily was crying quietly near Lily's door. Daniel looked like a man watching fire reach the only exit. "Rachel," he said, "let me explain." I looked at him. For a second, I saw every version of him at once. The husband at the airport. The man holding Lily's hand. The liar in my kitchen. And now the stranger who had used my name while I was serving overseas. "You forged a military power of attorney," I said. My voice sounded too calm. Daniel took one step closer. "I didn't have a choice." That sentence did something to me. It cut through the shock. Because he kept saying that. About the insurance. About the consent form. About Lily. About everything. Like every lie was just something that happened to him. Like betrayal was weather. "You had choices," I said. "You just chose the ones that used me." Emily looked at him. "You told me she signed it." Daniel did not answer. "You told me she knew," Emily said. Her voice broke on the last word. He turned toward her, desperate. "I was trying to keep Lily covered." "No," I said. "You were trying to keep both of us quiet." A nurse stepped into the hallway. "Is there a problem?" Karen answered before I could. "We need hospital security and legal administration." Daniel's head snapped toward her. "Karen, come on." She took a step back. "Sir, please don't speak to me directly." That was the first time I saw him truly panic. Not when I found the insurance. Not when I saw Lily. Not when Emily said life insurance. Now. Because strangers were entering the lie. And Daniel could not control strangers. He grabbed my wrist. Not hard, but enough. My whole body reacted before my mind did. I pulled away and stepped back into a defensive stance. His eyes widened, and he lifted both hands. "I wasn't going to hurt you." I looked at the spot where his fingers had touched me. "You already did." Hospital security arrived 2 minutes later. 2 men in blue jackets. Calm voices. Serious eyes. One stood near Daniel. The other stood near the nurse's station. Karen asked me to come back into the consultation room. I did. Emily followed without asking. Daniel tried to come too. Security stopped him. For once, he was the one left outside the door. Karen placed 3 documents on the table. The forged power of attorney. The dependent verification form. The medical consent form. Then she added a 4th page. "This is the life insurance change request you asked about." I did not touch it at first. Something inside me already knew. Emily sat beside me, shaking. "I only saw part of it," she whispered. "Daniel said you wanted Lily protected if something happened to you overseas." I picked up the paper. My eyes went straight to the beneficiary section. Primary beneficiary, Daniel Morgan. Secondary beneficiary, Lily Morgan. I stopped breathing. Before deployment, Daniel and I had updated documents at the kitchen table. I remembered him setting papers in front of me. I remembered him saying it was all standard. I remembered being tired, distracted, half-packed, and trusting him because he was my husband. But I had never agreed to add a child I did not know. I had never agreed to give him more control. And I had never seen this page. How much? I asked. Karen hesitated. It shows a request for an increase. How much? She looked down. $500,000. Emily made a small sound beside me. I felt nothing at first. That was the strange part. No tears. No scream. Just a hollow, frozen space behind my ribs. $500,000. A forged power of attorney. A sick child on my insurance. A husband with a second family. And my name holding it all together. This was the moment my mind finally said it clearly. This is crazy. Not messy. Not complicated. Crazy. Because I had been dodging danger overseas while danger sat at my dining table, handing me forms and telling me to sign quickly. I stood up. Karen looked nervous. Mrs. Morgan? I need copies of everything. We can provide them through the proper process. No, I said. You need to preserve everything. Access logs, upload history, IP addresses, signatures, timestamps. All of it. Emily stared at me. Daniel had forgotten who he married. I had not. I was not just his wife. I was a staff sergeant. I knew how paperwork could save a life. And how forged paperwork could bury one. Karen nodded quickly. I'll contact legal. Good. I turned to Emily. Did he ever ask you for my personal information? Her face crumpled. I didn't know it was yours. What did he ask for? She wiped her face. He said he needed Lily's forms completed. He asked me to send photos of documents. Birth certificate. Medical bills. Her diagnosis papers. And my information? She looked ashamed. He had it already. Of course he did. Social security number. Military ID information. Insurance access. Home office passwords. All the little doors I had left open because I thought marriage was safe. Then Emily said there was a woman. I froze. What woman? At his office. I only met her once. She helped with the forms. My pulse changed. Name? I don't know. Daniel called her Trish. Karen looked up sharply. What? I asked. She pressed her lips together. There is a Patricia Wells listed in our system as the benefits liaison who verified the dependent upload. My stomach turned. She works here? No, Karen said. She works through the contractor portal. Contractor. Benefits. Military insurance. That meant Daniel may not have done this alone. He may not even have known how. I took a slow breath. Print her name. Karen nodded. Emily leaned back in the chair, looking sick. I thought he was protecting Lily. I looked at her. I know. And I did know. That was the awful part. Emily was not innocent in every way. She had believed what she wanted to believe. She had accepted a married man's version of the world because it made her life easier. But she had not forged my name. Daniel had. Or Daniel had helped someone do it. A knock hit the door. Security opened it slightly. Ma'am, Mr. Morgan says he needs to speak with you immediately. I don't want to speak to him. The guard hesitated. He says it's about your deployment paperwork. Every muscle in my body tightened. What about it? The guard looked uncomfortable. He said if you keep pushing, people will start asking why some of your signatures don't match. The room went cold. Emily whispered, "What does that mean?" I did not answer. Because I understood. Daniel was not just begging now. He was threatening. He had forged my name enough times to make the truth look blurry. If I accused him, he would drag me into the mess with him. He would say I knew. He would say I signed. He would say we planned it together for Lily. And with enough paperwork, enough doubt, enough official language, he might make people wonder. I walked to the door. Karen stood. Mrs. Morgan, I don't think. I need to hear him say it. Security opened the door. Daniel stood in the hallway with his hands at his sides. His face was red, his eyes wet, but his voice was low when he spoke. Rachel, stop this now. I looked at him. Or what? He stepped closer, but security shifted between us. Daniel lowered his voice. You signed more than you remember. No, I didn't. You were tired before deployment. Stressed. You barely read anything. My skin crawled. There it was. The story he had built. Not full denial. Something worse. A version where I was careless. A version where my own exhaustion became his cover. You forged my signature while I was overseas, I said. He shook his head slowly. I handled what you asked me to handle. Emily gasped behind me. Daniel did not even look at her. His eyes stayed on mine. Then he said the sentence that turned my fear into something darker. And if this goes official, Rachel, it won't just ruin me. I stepped closer. It already is official. His jaw tightened. No, it's still hospital paperwork. Insurance paperwork. Marriage problems. He leaned in, voice almost a whisper. But if investigators start digging, they'll find every document connected to your name. Every form. Every approval. Every signature. My heart pounded. What else did you do? He looked away. Too fast. What else did you do, Daniel? Before he could answer, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Then I saw the message preview. Staff Sergeant Morgan, do not confront your husband alone. I stared at the screen. Another message appeared. Patricia Wells is not her real name. My mouth went dry. Daniel saw my face change. Who is that? He asked. I stepped back. The phone buzzed again. Your benefits file was accessed from Fort Bragg 3 times last month. Your husband was not the only user. I looked up at Daniel. For the first time, he looked confused. Not afraid. Confused. That scared me more. Because if he was not faking it, then the lie had grown past him. Then one final message arrived. Leave the hospital now. Someone is coming to collect the original documents. I read the last message twice. Leave the hospital now. Someone is coming to collect the original documents. My first instinct was to look at Daniel. His face had gone blank. Not guilty blank. Confused blank. That scared me more than if he had looked caught. Because for the first time since this nightmare began, I wondered if my husband was not the top of the lie. Maybe he was only one layer. Who is texting you? He asked. I stepped back. You tell me. I don't know. You expect me to believe that? His eyes flicked toward the phone, then toward Karen's office door. I didn't send that. Emily stood behind me, crying silently now. She looked from Daniel to me like she had just realized the floor was gone under both of us. Karen came out of the consultation room holding the folder. I called legal, she said. They're asking me to preserve everything. I moved toward her quickly. Do not give those originals to anyone. She blinked. Excuse me. Someone is coming for them. Daniel said my name behind me, but I ignored him. Karen looked down the hall. No one should be removing anything without authorization. Then lock them up. Her face changed. She heard something in my voice. Not panic. Training. She nodded and pulled the folder tight against her chest. I'll put them in the secure cabinet. Before she took 2 steps, a woman turned the corner near the nurse's station. She wore a navy blazer, black heels, and a hospital visitor badge clipped to her lapel. Her hair was pulled into a smooth bun. She carried a leather folder like she belonged exactly where she was. But her eyes moved too fast. First to Karen. Then to the documents. Then to me. Karen Doyle, the woman asked. Karen paused. Yes, I'm here from compliance. I need the Morgan file. My stomach tightened. Daniel whispered, oh God. I turned slowly. You know her? He did not answer. The woman looked at me then. Her smile was polite, but there was no warmth behind it. And you are? Rachel Morgan. The smile held for half a second too long. Then she said, of course. Staff Sergeant Morgan. I had not told her my rank. Karen noticed too. Can I see your hospital ID? Karen asked. The woman gave a soft laugh. I'm not hospital staff. I'm with the benefits contractor. Name? I asked. Patricia Wells. Emily made a small sound behind me. That was the name. Trish. The woman who helped Daniel with the forms. I stepped closer. Funny, I said. Someone just told me that isn't your real name. For the first time, the woman's face changed. Not much. Just enough. She recovered quickly. I don't know what you mean. You accessed my benefits file from Fort Bragg. Her eyes sharpened. Mrs. Morgan, this is not the place for accusations. No, I said. This is the place you came to steal documents. Karen backed away with the folder. Patricia's eyes followed her. That was all the confirmation I needed. Security, Karen said, louder now. The two guards shifted. Patricia raised one hand calmly. There's no need for drama. That file contains sensitive dependent information. My dependent information, I said. And you are welcome to request copies through the proper channels. I'm done with proper channels that forged my name. Her expression hardened. For a second, the polished mask disappeared. Under it was someone cold. Someone used to being obeyed. Daniel suddenly stepped between us. Trish, stop. My head turned toward him. So did Emily's. Patricia looked at him like he had just made a stupid mistake. Daniel, she said quietly, you should take your daughter back to her room. His daughter. Emily flinched. I noticed that. So did Patricia. A nurse hurried out from Lily's room. Emily, she's asking for you. Emily looked torn. Then Lily coughed from inside the room, a thin, painful sound. All the anger drained from Emily's face. She ran back to her daughter. And I hated that Patricia had timed it perfectly. Sick child. Crying mother. Guilty husband. Documents in motion. Everyone pulled in different directions. That is how people like her survived. They turned chaos into cover. Karen moved toward the secure office, but Patricia stepped in her path. I have authorization, she said. Show it, Karen replied. Patricia opened her leather folder. I moved just enough to see the first page. My name was on it. Again. Rachel Morgan. Authorization for release of dependent records. Signed electronically. Dated that morning. My anger went so cold it almost felt clean. She forged that too, I said. Patricia looked at me. Or you signed more than you remember. Daniel's exact words. My stomach turned. That was when I understood. He had not invented that threat. She had given it to him. I pulled out my phone and started recording. Patricia saw it instantly. Turn that off. No. Staff Sergeant Morgan, you are creating a serious privacy violation. You forged my identity. You cannot prove that. Her voice was calm. Too calm. And suddenly I realized the trap was deeper than I thought. If I recorded protected medical documents, they could accuse me. If I did nothing, they would erase them. If I shouted, I would look unstable. If I stayed quiet, they would bury me. Daniel stepped closer, his voice shaking. Rachel, please. Just stop and listen. I looked at him. Did you know she wasn't Patricia Wells? He swallowed. I only knew her as Trish. Did she help you forge my signature? His eyes filled. I didn't think of it that way. That answer almost knocked the breath out of me. Not no. Not never. I didn't think of it that way. Patricia's face darkened. Daniel. But he kept looking at me. She said it was temporary. She said Lily would lose coverage. She said because we were married, it was just paperwork. Just paperwork? I whispered. His voice broke. She said nobody would check while you were deployed. Karen gasped softly. Patricia turned toward her. You need to stop listening to this. No, Karen said. I think I need to call legal again. Patricia moved fast then. Too fast for someone wearing heels. She grabbed the edge of the Morgan file from Karen's hands. Karen held on. Papers slipped loose. One page hit the floor near my boot. I looked down. It was not Lily's medical consent. Not the insurance form. It was a deployment casualty beneficiary form. My name. My service number. Daniel listed as primary beneficiary. And underneath that, a second page. A new request. Pending approval. Primary beneficiary change, Lily Morgan Trust. Trust Administrator, Daniel Morgan. I stared at it. A trust. Not just a child on my insurance. Not just a medical procedure. Someone was moving my death benefits into a structure Daniel could control. My ears rang. I picked up the page. Patricia lunged toward me. Security moved in at the same time. Everything happened too quickly. Karen shouted. Daniel grabbed Patricia's arm. Patricia slapped him hard across the face. The sound cracked through the hallway. Then Lily's monitor began beeping wildly inside the room. Emily screamed for a nurse. For one awful second, everyone froze. Even Patricia. Then she ran. Not toward the elevators. Toward the stairwell. I ran after her. My boots hit the floor hard. My body still ached from deployment. My knees screamed. But rage carried me faster than pain. "Rachel!" Daniel shouted behind me. I ignored him. Patricia shoved through the stairwell door. I caught it before it closed. She was already one flight down. "Stop!" I yelled. She looked up once. And in that split second, I saw the fear in her face. Not fear of me. Fear that I had seen the page. She disappeared around the next landing. My phone buzzed in my hand. Another message from the unknown number. "Do not follow her alone. She is not the one who approved the trust." I stopped on the stairs. My breath came hard. Below me, a door slammed. Patricia was gone. I looked at the message. Then another arrived. "Ask your husband who told him you might not come back from Afghanistan." I stopped chasing Patricia on the stairwell. Not because I wanted to. Because the message had hit something deeper than fear. "Ask your husband who told him you might not come back from Afghanistan." I stood between two floors, breathing hard, one hand on the railing. Below me, the stairwell door slammed again. Patricia was gone. But suddenly, she felt less important. Someone had known my deployment details. Someone had known enough to scare Daniel. Someone had used my possible death like a business opportunity. I turned and went back upstairs. The pediatric floor was chaos. Nurses rushed in and out of Lily's room. Emily stood near the wall, crying into her hands. Daniel was in the hallway with a red mark on his cheek from Patricia's slap. He saw me and started toward me. "Rachel." I held up my hand. "Don't." He stopped. For once, he listened. Inside the room, Lily's monitor slowed. A nurse said something gentle to Emily, and Emily nodded like her body was there, but her mind had left. I looked at Daniel. He looked smaller now. Not innocent. Never innocent. But smaller. Like the lie had grown too big for him too. "Who told you I might not come back?" I asked. His face changed so fast I almost stepped back. There it was. Not confusion. Recognition. He knew exactly what I meant. "Where did you hear that?" he whispered. "That is not an answer." He looked toward Lily's room. "Not here." I laughed once. "Cold. Empty. You don't get to choose the place anymore." His eyes filled, but I did not move. "Who?" I asked again. Daniel rubbed both hands over his face. "Trish." "Patricia?" He nodded. "She contacted me after you deployed. Said she worked with military family benefits. Said there were problems with your file. And you believed her? She knew things, Rachel." "What things?" His voice dropped. "Your unit. Your deployment date. Your last four. Your policy numbers. She knew you had added me as emergency contact. She knew you had signed a basic power of attorney before leaving." My stomach tightened. That was not information some random woman should have. Daniel swallowed. "She said your convoy route had been hit twice that month." I froze. "What?" "She said your base was under review for casualty risk." I don't know exactly how she put it. She made it sound official. My skin went cold. Daniel had not known the truth. Our base had tense weeks, yes. There had been attacks in the region. But nobody from benefits should have called my husband and talked like that. Nobody. "She told you I might die," I said. He looked down. "She told me if something happened, the wrong paperwork could freeze everything." Everything meaning money. His jaw tightened. Yes. At least he did not pretend. And then, "She said Lily could be added temporarily. She said because she was my biological child, it would be simple. She said we could correct it after you came home." "You mean after I either came home or didn't?" He flinched. "Good. I wanted every word to cut. She said if I waited, Lily might lose treatment," he said. Emily was desperate. I was scared. And yes, I was selfish. "That is the first honest thing you've said." He looked at me then. "I never wanted you dead." I stared at him. The awful part was that I believed that. But it did not save him. "You just prepared to benefit if I was." Daniel's face broke. He turned away, pressing his fist against his mouth. For a second, I remembered loving him. Then I remembered the forged signature. Love and disgust can live in the same body. That is what nobody tells you. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Leave with copies. Originals are no longer safe. Do not trust hospital security. I looked up slowly. 2 security guards stood near the nurse's station. One of them was talking into a radio. The other was watching me. Not Daniel. Not Emily. Me. My pulse changed. Karen, I called. She came out of the office, still pale. Did you secure the originals? Yes. In legal storage. Who has access? She hesitated. Hospital legal. Compliance. Certain administrators. Could a contractor access it? No. Her answer came too fast. Like she wanted it to be true. I showed her the message. She read it and went white. Who is sending these? I was hoping you could tell me. Daniel leaned closer. Rachel, what is happening? I ignored him. Karen, I need copies now. Not tomorrow. Not through a portal. Now. She looked toward the security guards. Then back at me. Come with me. We moved quickly down a side hallway. Daniel followed. Emily stayed with Lily. I wanted to hate her, but I could not. Her child was sick, and my life was falling apart. Both things were true. Karen led us to a small records office. She closed the door. I'm breaking protocol, she said. No, I told her. You're preserving evidence. She printed fast. Power of attorney. Dependent form. Medical consent. Life insurance request. Trust beneficiary change. Access log. My name appeared again and again. Different times. Different uploads. Different signatures. All of them pretending to be me. Then Karen stopped at the final page. What is it? I asked. She did not answer. She turned the monitor toward me. A login history. 3 accesses from Daniel's authorized spouse account. 2 from Patricia Wells. And 1 from a military network. Fort Bragg Personnel Office. User ID, M. Ortiz. I stared at the name. Maya Ortiz. Specialist Maya Ortiz had worked admin support before my deployment. Quiet girl. Early 20s. Always carrying 2 coffees and apologizing for things that were not her fault. I had barely known her. But she had known my file. My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. Now you know why I couldn't sign my name. I looked at the screen. Then at the monitor. M. Ortiz. My mouth went dry. You're Maya, I whispered. Daniel looked at me. What? Another message came in. I helped her once. Then I saw the trust. I didn't know they were betting on you not coming home. Betting. That word made my stomach turn. Not planning. Not preparing. Betting. As if my deployment had been a game. As if my death had been a financial window. I typed back with shaking fingers. Where are you? The reply came almost instantly. Parking garage. Level 2. Don't bring him. I looked at Daniel. He read my face and shook his head. No. Absolutely not. You don't get a vote. Rachel, she could be setting you up. She already saved those documents. Or she led you straight to them. I hated that he had a point. But staying still felt worse. I folded the copies and shoved them inside my jacket. Karen looked terrified. What should I do? Call hospital legal again. Then call the police. And do not mention Maya Ortiz. Daniel grabbed my arm as I turned. This time harder. Rachel, stop. I looked at his hand. He let go. Smart man. I lost the right to protect you, he said. I know that. But please, don't walk into something alone. I stepped closer. You lost that right when you made me the signature on your lies. He closed his eyes. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small flash drive. My breath stopped. What is that? He looked ashamed. Trish gave it to me. She said it had backup copies. In case the portal failed. And you kept it? I was scared to delete it. I took it from his hand. For once, his cowardice had given me something useful. I left him in the records office and headed for the stairwell. Every step toward the parking garage felt wrong. The air changed as I went lower. Hospital noise faded. No crying children. No nurses. No monitors. Only concrete, fluorescent lights, and the distant hum of cars. Level 2 was almost empty. A silver sedan. A hospital van. A dark pickup near the far wall. Then I saw her. Maya Ortiz stood beside a concrete pillar, wearing a hoodie under an oversized coat. She looked thinner than I remembered. Her eyes were red, and a bruise darkened one side of her jaw. She raised both hands when she saw me. "Staff Sergeant Morgan," she said. "I'm sorry." I stopped 10 feet away. Start with why I shouldn't call the police. Because one of them is already coming. My body went still. What does that mean? Maya looked past me, toward the ramp. They use cops for pickups, contractors for paperwork, family members for signatures. My hand tightened around the flash drive. Who is they? Before she could answer, headlights washed across the garage wall. A black SUV rolled slowly down the ramp. Maya's face went white. "Oh no," she whispered. The SUV stopped between us and the exit. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out in a dark suit. Not Patricia. Not hospital security. I knew him. Colonel Harris. The officer who had shaken Daniel's hand at my deployment ceremony. The man who told me, with a proud smile, that soldiers like me made the country strong. He looked at me now inside, like I was an inconvenience. "Rachel," he said calmly. "Hand over the copies." Colonel Harris stood between me and the exit. His voice was calm. Too calm. "Rachel," he said. "Hand over the copies." Maya took one step back behind the concrete pillar. I did not move. For most of my Army career, that man had been untouchable. He had a clean uniform, polished boots, and the kind of voice that made rooms go quiet. I had seen younger soldiers straighten their backs when he walked past. Now he stood in a hospital parking garage, asking for stolen documents. That changed everything. "These copies belong to me," I said. His face stayed still. "They belong to the government. My forged signature is not government property." His jaw tightened. Just a little. That was the first crack. The black SUV idled behind him. Its headlights cut through the garage and painted long shadows across the concrete. I could not see who was inside, but I knew he had not come alone. Colonel Harris looked past me at Maya. "You made a very poor choice, Specialist." Maya's voice shook. "You told me it was for emergency readiness." "It was. You told me spouses needed faster access if soldiers were killed." Harris sighed like she was a child who had misunderstood homework. "And some do." I felt sick. "Killed," I repeated. His eyes moved back to me. "You were deployed in a high-risk area." I was alive. "Yes," he said quietly. That became the problem. For 1 second, the garage seemed to tilt. There it was. Not hidden anymore. Not dressed up in paperwork. I had come home alive, and that had ruined something. Maya wiped tears from her face. "They had categories," she whispered. "Single soldiers. Married soldiers. Soldiers with life insurance increases. Soldiers who gave spouses account access." "Stop talking," Harris said. But she did not. Then there were soldiers with complicated families. Stepchildren. Sick kids. Dependent changes. Anything that made the paperwork messy. I looked at him. And Daniel. Harris gave me a cold little smile. "Your husband was desperate. Desperate people are easy to guide." I wanted to hate Daniel cleanly. I really did. But Harris had just said the word guide. Not help. Not advise. Guide. Like Daniel had been moved down a path one step at a time. Still guilty. Still selfish. But not alone. What was the plan? I asked. Harris shook his head. "There is no plan. There is only a paperwork error your husband created while trying to help a sick child. You forged my power of attorney." "No," he said. "Your husband mishandled access. You changed my death benefits. Your husband submitted requests. You used a fake benefits liaison." His eyes sharpened. "Careful, Staff Sergeant." That title hit differently now. Not respect. "Warning. You are emotional," he said. "You just returned from deployment. Your marriage is collapsing. You found a child you didn't know about. You are not thinking clearly." I almost laughed. He was building the same cage Daniel had tried to build. Tired wife. Angry soldier. Unstable woman. Too emotional to trust. I reached into my jacket and touched the papers. I'm thinking clearly enough to know you're scared. His smile faded. From behind him, the SUV door opened. A man stepped out. Military police. Not local police. My pulse jumped. I recognized him from Fort Bragg. Sergeant Cole. He had processed vehicle passes near the main gate. He had once joked with Daniel about football while I signed deployment forms. He was not smiling now. "Ma'am," Cole said, "we need you to come with us." "No. This is an official matter." "Then show me orders." He glanced at Harris. "Tiny mistake." I saw it. Harris's voice dropped. "Rachel, don't make this harder. It already is harder." A phone buzzed in my pocket. Maya's eyes widened. "Don't answer." I knew she was right, but I pulled it out anyway. Unknown number again. One message. "Do not get in the SUV. Hospital cameras are being disabled on level 2. My mouth went dry. I looked up at the ceiling. The small black camera in the corner had no red light. It was dead. Harris saw me look. His face changed. Only for a second. That was enough. I turned the phone screen toward him. Too late. For the first time, he looked genuinely angry. "Who is sending you those messages?" I smiled, but my hands were shaking. "You tell me." Behind me, Maya whispered, "Rachel." I glanced at her. She was looking past Harris. Toward the ramp. A second vehicle was coming down. Daniel's truck. My heart sank. "No," I whispered. He had followed me. Of course he had. The truck stopped badly, halfway across the lane. Daniel jumped out, breathing hard, his face pale. "Rachel, get away from him," he shouted. Harris turned slowly. "You stupid man." Daniel froze. That told me everything. He knew Harris. Not as a distant officer. Not as a familiar face. He knew him like a man knows the person who owns his fear. Harris stepped toward him. "You were told to keep her calm." Daniel looked at me. I didn't know they were moving the trust. My chest tightened. "But you knew about the rest." His silence answered. Sergeant Cole moved closer to me. I stepped back. Maya grabbed my sleeve and whispered, "The stairs." I looked toward the stairwell door behind us. Too far. Cole would reach me first. Daniel saw it too. Then he did one useful thing. Maybe the first useful thing since I came home. He ran straight at Harris. Not hard enough to win. Hard enough to create chaos. Harris stumbled back. Cole turned. Maya grabbed my arm and we ran. The stairwell door slammed behind us. "Up," Maya said. "Why up?" "Because they expect down." We climbed fast. My knees burned. My chest ached. The papers dug into my ribs under my jacket. Behind us, the door burst open. Footsteps followed. Heavy. Fast. Maya pulled me through level 4. We came out near a row of empty cars. She led me to an old silver sedan and dropped to her knees near the tire. "What are you doing?" She reached behind the wheel well and pulled out a small plastic bag. Inside was a second flash drive. And a folded list. "I copied more than your file," she said. I stared at her. "Why didn't you give this to me earlier?" "Because I didn't know if you were part of it." That hurt. But it made sense. I unfolded the list. Names. Ranks. Policy numbers. Deployment locations. Some names had check marks. Some had dates. 3 names were marked in red. I recognized one. Staff Sergeant Elena Ruiz. She had died 2 months before I came home. Officially, it was a vehicle accident during leave. My stomach turned. "What is this?" Maya's face crumpled. "The ones who didn't come back." Footsteps echoed from the stairwell. Closer now. Maya shoved the flash drive into my hand. "Take it." "What's on it?" "Emails. Access logs. Beneficiary changes. And one audio file." "What audio file?" She looked terrified. "Harris talking about your casualty packet." My breath stopped. "My what?" Before she could answer, the stairwell door opened. Sergeant Cole stepped out first. Then Harris. His face was no longer calm. "Enough," he said. I gripped the flash drive so tightly it hurt. Harris looked at my hand. Then at Maya. "You should have stayed quiet." Maya backed up until she hit the car behind her. Harris raised his phone. Last chance, Rachel. Give me the drive, or I make one call and your husband becomes the witness against you. I looked at Daniel's empty truck below through the garage opening. Where is he? Harris smiled. That smile made my blood go cold. He's learning what happens when weak men try to grow a conscience. My phone buzzed again. One final message appeared. The audio file starts with Daniel saying your name. I stared at the screen. Then I looked at Harris. Because suddenly I understood. Whatever was on that drive, Daniel had known more than he admitted. And Harris was not afraid of the documents anymore. He was afraid I would hear the recording. I stared at the message. The audio file starts with Daniel saying your name. My hand closed around the flash drive. Harris saw it. For the first time, his face showed real fear. Not anger. Not annoyance. Fear. That told me the drive mattered more than the papers. More than the forged signatures. More than the trust. Whatever was on it could not be explained away. Sergeant Cole stepped closer. Staff Sergeant Morgan, he said, hand it over. I looked at him. You know what's on this? His eyes flicked toward Harris. That was enough. You do, I said. Maya stood beside me, shaking so hard her shoulder brushed mine. Harris lifted his phone. Final warning, Rachel. Then a sound came from the level below. A man groaning. Daniel. My body moved before I could stop it. Harris smiled. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was using the last weak place in me. The part that still heard my husband in pain. I took one step toward the edge of the garage. Maya grabbed my wrist. No, she whispered. That's what he wants. I looked at her, then at the flash drive, then at Harris. And suddenly I understood the whole pattern. Daniel used Lily. Patricia used paperwork. Harris used fear. And now he was using the part of me that still wanted to save someone who had betrayed me. I stepped back. Harris's smile faded. No, I said. His eyes narrowed. No what? No, I'm not handing it over. No, I'm not getting in your SUV. And no, you don't get to decide what happens to my name anymore. Sergeant Cole reached for me. Maya moved first. She threw her coffee into his face. Hot, black, and straight into his eyes. Cole shouted and stumbled back. I ran. Not toward the stairs. Toward the hospital van. Maya was right behind me. Harris cursed and followed. My knees screamed. My lungs burned. I could hear boots hitting concrete behind us. I reached the van and ducked behind it. Maya shoved a phone into my hand. Plug it in. What? The drive. Plug it in. It was not a normal phone. It had a small adapter already attached. My hands shook as I pushed the flash drive in. The screen lit. Folders appeared. Names. Files. Audio. Maya tapped fast. Harris rounded the van. Rachel. I hit the audio file. Daniel's voice filled the parking garage. Clear. Shaking. If Rachel dies, what happens to the policy? I stopped breathing. Daniel's voice continued. I'm not saying I want that. I'm asking what happens. Then Harris answered. Calm. Almost bored. If the packet is clean, the money moves fast. The garage went silent except for the recording. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Harris froze. Then Patricia's voice came through the speaker. The wife is deployed. She won't see the dependent changes. Daniel again. Lower now. Ashamed. And if she comes back? Harris laughed softly. Then we correct what needs correcting. Unless she becomes difficult. My stomach turned. Difficult. That was all I was to them. Not a wife. Not a soldier. Not a woman who had survived a war zone. A problem to manage. Harris lunged toward us. But before he reached me, another voice echoed across the garage. Federal agents. Hands where we can see them. For one frozen second, nobody moved. Then everything happened at once. Cole tried to run. Maya dropped to the ground. Harris turned toward the ramp. Agents came from both sides. Hospital security followed behind them, pale and useless. Sergeant Cole was tackled near the stairwell. Harris stood still, breathing hard, his hands slowly rising. But his eyes stayed on me. Even then, he looked like he hated that I had survived. An agent took the phone from my hand. Another took the flash drive. Staff Sergeant Morgan, a woman asked. Yes, I'm Special Agent Reeves. We received the file from Maya Ortiz. I looked at Maya. She gave me a tiny nod. She had not just warned me. She had sent backup before I even knew what I held. Below us, I heard Daniel groan again. 2 agents brought him up from level 3. His lip was split. One eye was swelling. He could barely look at me. For a second, I felt nothing. Then I felt everything. The airport hug. The messages from home. The forged signature. Lily's small voice calling him Daddy. The recording. If Rachel dies. Daniel stopped in front of me. I never wanted you dead, he whispered. I looked at him for a long moment. I know. His face broke with relief. Then I finished. But you are willing to build a life around the possibility. That relief vanished. Good. Some truths should hurt when they land. The investigation took months. Patricia Wells was not Patricia Wells. Her real name was Elaine Porter, a contractor who had access to military family benefits systems through a third-party administrator. She had been feeding documents to Harris for years. Harris had built a quiet network around fear, deployment, and paperwork. Most victims never noticed. Some were grieving. Some were overseas. Some were too embarrassed to admit they had signed things they never read. And some never came home. I did. That was the mistake they did not plan for. Daniel cooperated after his arrest. Not because he became brave. Because the evidence left him no place to hide. He admitted Patricia contacted him during my deployment. He admitted adding Lily to my insurance. He admitted signing forms under my name. He admitted he knew about the trust. But the recording did the most damage. Because it showed the truth under all his excuses. He had been scared. He had been selfish. And he had been willing to let my life become a financial calculation. Lily had her procedure 2 weeks later. I did not stop it. That surprised people. Maybe it surprised me too. But Lily was not the lie. She was a child trapped inside grown people's choices. Her coverage changed through emergency legal channels. Emily got help from patient advocates. She testified too, even though it cost her the story she had believed for years. Daniel and I divorced quietly. There was no dramatic final argument. No screaming in the driveway. No one last kiss. Just papers, signatures, and silence. This time, I read every line. 6 months later, I stood in my own kitchen again. The mail was on the table. The dog slept beside my chair. Morning light came through the window. For the first time in a long while, the house felt like mine. Not safe exactly. Safety takes time, but honest. And honest was enough to start with. I kept 1 copy of the first insurance notice. Lily Morgan, dependent child. Daniel Morgan listed as father. I kept it in a folder with the forged power of attorney and the life insurance request. Not because I wanted to remember the pain. Because I never wanted to forget the lesson. Love can make you trust someone with your whole life. But trust should never mean closing your eyes. Especially when your name, your money, your service, and your future are on the line. Because sometimes the most dangerous document is not the one you sign. It is the one someone signs for you. Thank you for watching this story until the end. If it touched you, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you know. And write in the comments, would you forgive someone who used your name, your trust, and your future for their own lies?